Hello guys, and it is that panda guy, and I'm here again with another video. And today we're going to be going through kind of version or video number 2 of Boon versus, I guess, everybody, right? Like it's a 1v3, and Boon has their back against the wall, and they did amazing. And I will be honest, I think my first video was a little lackluster, and that might have a bit to do with the fact that, it was kind of like an encore, or it was not an encore, sorry. It was like the appetizer to the main dish. And I didn't really know what to say, especially when I already knew what was going to happen. And I'm just like, let's get into it. So, first off, I'm going to kind of talk about how you guys saw those two towers that I looked at earlier out in the video. And that was to kind of show that RPG and HNT were actually building their way towards here, where Boon was targeting ANCS, trying to cut them off early and maybe make themselves just easier, right? Like make it easier for them to kind of 2v1 instead of 3v1, or maybe just cripple a lot of their members. And that would have been really smart because you want to take out their smaller player base. And it was really a big issue for Boon because they have to deal with all these whales. And I will say that Boon is very coordinated. They know what to do mostly. Of course, they always have a lot, everybody always has something to learn, but Boon is very coordinated. They have a group of really smart players, and they were able to kind of keep their tier 6 players, taking the main fray where they tried to, I guess swap out for their, make sure they're like tier 5 players, or at least low tier 5 players. We're kind of playing back, playing filler, whatever it might be. And I will say that Boon, I just like him a fanboy at this point. Like I'm kind of a fanboy just because like I love how they run stuff. I love how they like manage war. Like they're so smart when like doing stuff. But I mean, you guys can look at these. By the way, the white numbers, and you guys see such bad trades throughout almost this whole video, if not the whole video. The trades are going to be really bad for ANCS, and this was mainly due to the garrison leader, and it was just really big issue that I noticed the whole time. And even later in like in the event, like even on the last day, they still were making mistakes with garrison captain, and it was really just hard to watch. One thing that made this especially like difficult to see was that so basically, I don't know if you guys will notice, but Jess or whatever is one of the R4s of ANCS, and I would see her a lot do this thing where she would basically swarm down the rally, whereas if she had joined and actually been like garrison captain or something, the trades would have been better, the rally probably would have melted easier, it just would have all like went way smoother. Like just having 5 marches of tier 6 on a rally won't mean everything, especially if the player holding the rally is tier 6, the troops in the rally are tier 6, and then the garrison itself is just weak because they're going to be getting good kill trades. They're going to be losing less. I mean, like, it's 1 for 5, 1 for 7, 1 for 8. You're just seeing insane trades on this garrison. And, like, I just, and you see this throughout the whole event. Like, you would expect them to fix that off maybe the first one, the second one. But no, you see it on the last day. You see it on, like, probably second day, whatever, right? Like, and it was just really frustrating to actually watch. I mean, of course, I'm not the one doing it, and I'm not the one in their alliance, but it is painful to see. I mean, look at that. Oh, look at those trades, dude. That is disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting. Like, the thing is, these are tier 6 players. You got Nam rallying. He's a tier 6 player. His gear is good. His everything is good. And he's rallying this, and you should be having a tier 6 player on it. Not some 50 million, not some 40 million. Like, having, like, you can have a 40 million holding this thing, and you can fill it with tier 6, and you're going to be taking disgustingly bad trades. Because, I mean, the person holding it isn't supposed to be holding it. I mean, like, look at these. It's like 1 for 7 on most of these. Ah, dude, I just don't understand it. And you see it right here, Jessica. She should be jumping in that garrison. She's an R4 as well, so she can manually swap who's garrison captain. And this is like just really painful to watch. Like I don't know. Like it's like it's such a simple mistake to fix, right? Like I don't know if you guys seen G3, like that bracket, but Pickle did an amazing job at basically playing as a garrison captain like during the whole event. Hot didn't care as much about field control as some of these other alliance might. And I mean, I think it worked out for them because they played really defensive. They took good trades, and Pickle was a monster in the flags, just eating up troops. And of course, he did get exhausted eventually, and that's the reason that you're going to need your players to play filler. I mean, like, being garrison captain's one thing, but if your players can just keep filling, and like, I mean, especially if it's your weaker players, because you're going to need your whales on the field who are able to maintain like their presence. They're going to be able to keep healing, whereas you might burn out after like a few field fights, or you might not be able to heal as like, of course, as much as a whale might be able to. And the field presence, the trades they might be taking, all of that, you should be willing to sacrifice your troops in these flags for these, these whales. But that doesn't mean these whales should only be on the field, and they should neglect the fact that they could be taking better trades. They can make your life easier, all that kind of stuff. And it's just really like, it's just really not ideal to see. And I just don't like seeing it. Like, it's really bad. And I feel like this is definitely a mistake that they can fix and they can work on. I mean, I keep saying it, but Pickle is so amazing at making sure that he knows, okay, I gotta play defensive. I gotta be garrison captain. I gotta make sure either, my members are filling these flags, or I'm like solo filling. And I do want to kind of mention that, like, a tier 6, like, okay, so defending a flag is way easier than attacking for obvious reasons. Whereas a defender, of course, like, the same person can send 5 marches in something. So if you're a tier 6 player, and like, the enemy team only has one tier 6 player, you can put 1 million tier 6 in that flag, whereas the rally can only have that one tier 6 player reinforcing it. And of course, you're going to be taking probably negative trades, as long as like the gear is worse and all that kind of stuff, right? You're going to be taking negative trades probably, because you're going to be having tier 5 in that rally, as well as the fact that defense has like a better kill death ratio than attackers do. Like, so it's just so advantageous to be on defense. But in this case of like ANCS, they were just getting murdered, and it just wasn't smart. Like, Boon was doing a good job at keeping rallies full, and they were just eating. And I mean, in this case, you guys do see Jessica is garrison leader, and I actually thought, oh well, these guys are finally understanding their mistakes. They're finally like fixing that, and I mean, they did for a bit, but seeing it on last day kind of goes to show, like, these are still mistakes that need to be fixed. People need to be more coordinated. You might want people to, specifically be R4s or something, just to kind of swap out garrison captains, be a team leader, whatever it might be, right? And that's like, it's just really good for your team having chemistry, and just having someone who can be a team leader and kind of make sure everybody's playing like competent players. Because of course, there's going to be a lot of incompetent players in this game, and I don't say that to sound mean, but it's true. Like, these players aren't going to know how to fight. They're not going to know where to go. They're not going to know what to do, and they're going to overcommit fights. They're going to undercommit fights, whatever it might be. And I mean, this does happen a lot, and I noticed this with Boon, that they did amazing at making sure they weren't overcommitting on the battlefield. They weren't running into the zone like maniacs. They weren't just running in and getting murdered. And I mean, of course, they did have their mistakes where, like, people ended up dogpiling in when they shouldn't have. They overcommitted in some situations, but overall, Boon did an amazing job in this aspect. And like, this is one reason I can just watch Boon, and I'm so satisfied with everything they do, because they know what they're doing. They're super organized, and they're just smart, right? I mean, I don't really see mistakes that I can typically critique from these guys, and that's just a huge thing about Boon. Whereas like ANCS, like, just the flag thing really hurts to watch, right? Like, just seeing the flag thing really hurts. Like, even canceling there, like, dude, that's so huge. They know when they're taking bad trades. They know they need to get out of there. They know they can't keep a rally full. They cancel. You know how many rallies just continue and people don't cancel. They don't care to cancel, and they're just like, whatever. And then they end up taking insanely bad trades because they just wanted to, like, wanted to let it run, and they just didn't care to cancel it. And it's just stupid. And in every aspect, I always think that Boon in just these cases are just insane. Like, they are smart, and I mean, their field control was crazy, but they did end up getting overwhelmed for obvious reasons. It was a 3v1, and unlike, most cases where, like, you could just rally these things infinitely, right? And the thing is, in the case of ANCS, they were taking really bad trades. So, of course, this was good for Boon. They were draining ANCS, especially the average player. Even if the whales are able to keep going, the average player is kind of getting drained out right now, be it their heals or even just their troops. And, thing is, even if Boon could do that, like against a normal alliance, or they could just keep draining people and kind of just end up winning an endurance race, the thing is, you got to remember these guys have, all these allies. So even if they're taking bad trades, keeping these rallies full and making sure these flags hold on is all ANCS needs to do until their allies can pull up and just start making it impossible for Boon to hold and force Boon to just back up to their helipad. And that's what ended up happening. I mean, they just got overwhelmed because, what are you supposed to do? You're splitting your forces to hold every tower that you can, and you're just getting game banged. That's as simple as that. But yeah, I don't want to go too hard on ANCS, but I definitely wanted to point that out. I feel like so many people can learn from their mistake. And if I keep critiquing it, people will get better, people will understand more, and it'll make the competition a little bit more fierce and just make the overall player base just more knowledgeable, smarter, and it will make fights a little bit harder. So I hope that did help a bit, and I hope this video has been entertaining, and hopefully you guys will see me in part 3. I thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day or night. Peace out.